The panel discussion instructions are a bit lengthy and detailed, but don't let that intimidate you. They're simply to help you anticipate any questions that you might receive during the panel time. There are 3 goals to this panel discussion time. Number 1, we want the girls to see that sex is a wonderful gift from God reserved for marriage. Number 2, that this will open the door to future conversations with moms and daughters about sex. And finally, number 3, that the girls will see that they're not alone in this quest for sexual purity. There are other girls with them. There are 2 components to the panel discussion time: physical changes and life choices. Physical changes, the moms and daughters will ask about different changes that their bodies are going through at this time. Life choices, for many of these girls, life choices regarding sex are a few years down the road, but they see and they hear about sex everywhere. So we want to make sure that we prepare them for when those life choices do occur. Next, let's talk about the panel itself. The panel should include 1 or 2 young women committed to waiting for marriage to have sex, a female doctor. A gynecologist would be an extra bonus here. This could also be a biology teacher from your local high school if a doctor is not available. Just anyone comfortable and knowledgeable enough about women's bodies. Someone who knows God's word on the subject of marriage, relationships, and dating, and someone to help moderate the panel. It can also be helpful to have someone to help categorize those questions as they come up through the panel. Let's listen in for a few minutes to our retreat as Dr. June Wedegren, our OBGYN, and some of her panel members share from their heart regarding physical changes.
The whole change are the hormones, right? We get this huge overload with hormones in our body. Part of those hormones tell our breasts to change, part tell our hair growth to change, part tell us that we're going to be a little bit curvier.
Every woman in this room, most of us, we've all gone through this and been embarrassed or had things happen where we've been embarrassed and haven't been wearing the right clothes or whatever while our periods were starting when we were young and that sort of thing. So it can be embarrassing more than scary, but know that women will talk to you about it, and your moms and caring coaches and caring adults at school will talk to you about
There's
it.
a lot of other hormones that go along and changes too.
Well, and this question kind of goes with that. It just says, is it scary? And you know, it is kind of, change is a little scary. When your body's doing these kind of weird things, it can seem a little scary.
There's lots of changes that go on. We kind of talked about the physical changes that go along with puberty, and your period is. And that's getting your body ready to be a woman, ready to be able to carry a child.
At the end of the physical changes section, it's time for a break. So as moms and daughters stretch their legs and enjoy a break, have someone on your staff set out the materials for unwrapping God's gift. After unwrapping God's gift, it's time to go back to our panelists and have them answer questions regarding life choices with sex and dating. So let's check back in with our panelists as they cover these life choice questions.
We are called as Christians and as women who belong to God to make every part of our life a way of worshiping Him. And a relationship with a Christian young man can be a way of doing that. But too often our emotions and our physical desires and passions take over, and we start to do things that are more selfish. We want to be loved, we want to be hugged, we like that touch, and that's not wrong, but it's wrong unless it's within God's blessing and His boundaries.
Another thing that kind of goes along with that is that society tells us that there's a hurry, that we need to get through these things, and it's weird if we haven't. I'm almost 20 years old and I haven't had my first kiss yet. And society says, wow, that's really weird. What's wrong with that girl? And it really shouldn't be that way. The Bible tells us to keep those things pure, like Alexa has shared with us, and there's no hurry to rush through those things, and there's no reason not to keep them sacred.
All right, so let's get a piece of tape, and let's roll up our sleeves. Yep. And we're going to put a piece of clear tape on our arms. Yep. All right. So, all right, so this tape is on our arms now. Now this is what we're talking about with God's plan, right? We're talking about you have to make a real choice to stay pure. With all of the stuff that's out there, all of the videos, all of the people on the playground, all of the movies, all of the magazines, all of the internet that's out there, you have to choose to stay pure for yourself. The rest of the world's not going to choose it for you. They're going to choose the exact opposite. So what we'd like to show you is what can happen when you have sex outside of marriage. Well, first, God wants you to do it like this. He wants you to stick to your husband. He wants you to have sex for the very first time with your husband. So, we're going to do that. We're going to stick to our husband. Then, what if you had sex and you weren't married? Well, that relationship ends, right? Let's end that relationship. All right, take it off. Can you see that? What? Oh, wow, there's hair in there. That's kind of cloudy. There's cells in there. There's bacteria that's there, because we have bacteria on our skins. And some people can have STDs. They can have infections. And they don't know about it. Is there an infection in there? There might be. But some people have had sex before, and they'll want to have sex with you, and they'll say, I don't have any STDs. You don't have to worry about me. No, don't worry about me. I'm fine. Well, there are, yes, STDs. Yes, STDs are sexually transmitted diseases, infections you can get from any sexual contact. That can be sex from a penis to a vagina. That can be other types of sex that you might hear about, like oral sex, where mouth touches genitalia. That can also be just skin-to-skin contact. That's HPV. That's HSV. Those are STDs, herpes, and warts. Those are sexually transmitted infections. And that's something people can't always get rid of. If you have a virus, it's yours for life. And people don't always know they have it. HIV, that you don't always know you have, and that's going to kill you. So, you're in this relationship, and there's a lot of people out there that have ended relationships, sexual relationships, and they're gonna want to be close to you. And they're gonna maybe convince you of that. And you're gonna say, I don't know what's on your tape. But if you do decide that you're going to have sex outside your marriage, it's like this. Pass the tape to your partner on your right. And they're going to stick it on their skin. Ugh. You have all their cells on you. Oh, that's kind of gross, isn't it? There's lots of faces coming out here. Okay, what if you make that decision again? Pass it to the right again. All right, yeah, we put on your skin. Okay, so this part, you're passing these diseases around, and you don't know where that tape has been. It's been to 2 people today, but what was it last week or last month? You have no idea about that other person's past unless they have decided to stay pure, just like you.
One thing I do want to say, and we'll talk more and more about this, and that's why physical purity is so important, because you physically, you can't clean the tape back off. Spiritually, and we'll talk about this more later, because of Jesus, we have clear tape. And so physically, physically, gosh, it's there. But know that if you make bad choices, or if bad choices are made to you, you know, some girls have sexual things happen to them that they can't control. And it does cloud the tape. That in Jesus, we get clear tape. But that is a gift that we cannot take lightly. And so moms, I encourage you to always be talking with your girls about that. You know, we have wonderful doctors like Dr. June and people to help us, but that physical tape just gets gross and it's hard to ever clean off. But Jesus cleans our hearts. So whether those are the bad choices we've made or the bad choices that are made to us, know that that is a grace-filled truth that's real for everybody.
Very, very good. The last part of our tape is going to be moving it on your skin one more time and placing it one more time on your own skin. Can you tell me, is it really sticking to you now? It's not even staying there. So God's design for marriage is to stay together. And sex is how it stays together with a lot of other wonderful things. But because sex is so good in a marriage, it keeps you sticking together. And unfortunately, if you lose that bond and you lose your stickiness to another person, when you do find the man that you want to marry, there can be issues. You can have problems, you're not sticking together as well. Your sexual intimacy isn't as good as it could be if you guys were still the first ones together. And a little bit of a side with that, I'll let other people talk about this, but I see women who are married and have grown children as well. And some of these women have had relationships in the past, and they are in a marriage where they've had children, and they should be enjoying sex because sex is a gift from God, and it's great. And they should be enjoying this. But because their tape is cloudy, because they have made some choices that they knew were wrong in their heart and they're feeling so guilty, they're not enjoying the gift that God gave them to its fullest extent that it was meant for. And that's why they need to turn to Jesus as well and ask for that forgiveness.
Saturday morning concludes with Gretchen Jameson on video presenting what it means to be sexually pure. And after all this, they're going to need a break. So be sure and take an extended break so that moms and daughters can take that afternoon time to enjoy their time together by having their nails done, go getting their hair done, but just a time for them to be together.